Thriving in Twinmotion. Now that you are surviving, let's thrive in the vast world of Twinmotion. In this session, we'll explore all the possibilities from materials and lighting to moving elements and people and video walkthroughs to white sweeps and cloud presentations and so much more. In the PDF version of this presentation, you can click and see all the videos live.
So a little bit about us. Sydney, I work for Price Modern. I have toured all across Venice, Tuscany, Rome, a whole bunch of Italy. I've flown on a plane over 350 times in my life, and I've parasailed in 3 countries.
I'm Allie from Teknion. I have hiked the mountains in Peru and Bolivia. I've gone skydiving, and I've sandboarded in Chile.
Woohoo! So here's a little breakdown of what we're going to walk through today. So we're going to go through working in Twinmotion. We're going to review some different elements, go through the different visuals that we can produce, and show you how to make cloud presentations.
Environments in Twinmotion. So within ambience, you can change all the exterior ambiance for your presentation. So within there, you have the global lighting, which will change your time and day. Within there, you can also change the exposure level as well. There is also the weather that you can play with to make it sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowing, whatever you want like that. You can also play around with the participation as well. You can also change the location to get a more accurate reading of where you need to, but it's not necessary. Additionally, you can change your HDRI environment. There are a lot preset within Twinmotion, but you can import your own. You can also change the angle and the rotation of it. You can also change the horizon to be a different element. And you can also add the ocean. So you can add water, and you can change the height of it as well. And you can change the color.
So here's our rainy beach house. So another option for environments is to add lighting, fake versus real lighting, and turning shadows on. So if you aren't adding physical lights to the space, what you can do is you can go under materials and go to neon lighting and apply those to your specific shapes. That'll give that shape an emissive feel. Then with going under lighting specifically, you can add directional lighting, change the height, change the spread, change the color, which will add to that neon glow that you already gave to the light bulb. The most important thing is to turn the shadows on so you can see how the it's down here at the bottom to enable those shadows so that you can see the dimension of the light so it doesn't look as flat. A pro tip that I have on here is that I like to put all of my lighting in the same subfolder so that it's all easy to find and it's not buried within all of my other elements.
So within Twinmotion, you can have different elements within there. So for instance, with materials, you can add plants. And this option is called the Populate tool. And this is a new one within 2024. It's called spacing. So you put down where you want your elements to be. You make that line or path, for instance. And then you go into your library and you pick the elements that you want in this path. So for instance, here we're going into the Megascans library. And we're collecting some plants and we're putting it into the space. So it's going to populate in there. And then within there, you're going to have all the different options to be able to have it feel the way you want it to feel. So just remember that when it's a cluster of items, it's going to turn out like this. But what you can do is you can go there and split it. So you'll have individual items instead of a grouping of them. So you have a more of a realistic feel. And then you can change the density, so basically making your line fatter. And then you can change how many you want to be populated in that area. And if you put the random order on, you get a more natural feel of the plants in that space. And you can go into this even further and change the random scale to it as well and how many you want. And you can also hit the button at the top that basically changes the randomness of it, such as this.
So here we're going to look at some more custom animated elements. So these ones come from under Sketchfab, which Sketchfab will have a lot of already animated visual elements that you can bring into your drawing. You need to log into Epic Games. That's the one kind of sticking point, but you're able to upload and look at it in Sketchfab before you download it. You can download that file here, import it like any other element that you would to your drawing. And it will, again, you want to make sure that's saved in the same local file so that it's tied to the drawing. You'll see that these ones came in huge. They are not scaled. So you click on your scale button, bring that way down to size, rotate as needed, and then place that in your drawing right where it needs to be. And you'll see all those little fishies swimming around in there, which creates just that added little element of life and movement to your drawing. One thing to note is that to get them animated, you do want to go to the Sketchfab website and download it. So if you just pull it in from here, they are going to be static. So it's good to go to Sketchfab and download from that location so that they are beautiful and animated in your drawing.
So to add some custom movement to your file, use the rotator tool. So for instance, here's a fan. It has some lighting that we have given it, but now let's make it animated. So we're going to take our rotator tool. So I always take the rotator and I put it where I need it to begin with. This will just save me time afterwards. So basically where I want it to be, its pinpoint of where it's going to start spinning from. If I put it off to the side, it's not going to spin on the axis that I want. So you just need to position it correctly. Once it is where you want it to be, and sometimes you gotta get really picky to make sure it's perfectly aligned. So now that it's perfectly aligned, what I'll do is I'll take that item, which is the fan, and then I'm going to bring it into the folder of the rotator. And it's going to automatically do it for me. There is other ways where you can take the rotator and then select your objects, but this is the fastest way to do it. And then within the rotator, you can adjust your speed, in the delay, and what kind of action you want it, once, ping pong, or continuous. So as is a fan, we're going to do loop.
So here we're going to show how you can do some custom path tracing. You can do this with any object. You can do this with people, cars. Here we're going to show you how to do it with a beach ball in a pool. So under the Populate, you'll be able to add a custom path. As you see, this little block object is kind of the way that the path is going. We find our beach ball and then drag it into that custom path. Obviously, we're able to adjust that custom path with speed, delay, size of the object, offset, all these different options to make it feel more natural within the space. All these little movements that we're adding really bring the space to life and make it feel like you're actually there on this beautiful private island.
So now to do some more custom animation with nature. So for instance, we have this water feature. Just by changing the water to make it look more like water, already gives it more of a feel. Now within elements, you can add some water. So now it's going to make the waterfall look like it's actually dripping water. You can add several of these to give that effect, like here. And with using the instant button instead of the copy, you're going to get the same you're going to get the same item over and over with the same properties, no changes. But if it's a copy, you'll have to do the changes to all the other ones. Meaning if you change its scale or whatever, it's not going to happen to all of them unless you do instance.
And there's multiple different water options, fog options, things like that that you're able to add.
And because the material that we put into here is water, when you add elements like lily pads, they're going to actually react like water, like it's on water. So it's going to have that little effect of floating.
And as a note, I know it was kind of quick at the beginning, but that the water that was added, was that you added like that, like a material, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful water feature. And this is my personal favorite, is all of the inherent animated people that they have already within Twinmotion. So you'll have different groupings or individuals. The single ones that are walking, those are the ones that you can like add to a path. But my personal favorite is the dance party. So when you click on these different elements, you're able to click the different ways that they're sitting, that they're standing, if they're talking on the phone, their different postures, things like that. There's also the dance party option where you have multiple different dancing styles. Each different character has like 4 different dancing styles that get progressively more aggressive as they go on. But you can create a very fun bonfire just by using inherently animated elements that Twinmotion provides you.
So after you've added all these elements, you're going to notice that those elements are always going to appear at the bottom of your list. So that list is all your layers. So to help keep it all organized, once you place elements, create little containers for it, and you can create sub-containers just to make everything easier to find and not a scattered mess.
And along with that is that if you have a ton of animated elements, like if you have a huge waterfall or things that are constantly moving, I like to, if I'm working on something more detailed, I like to turn those off just so that the program's not constantly focusing, putting computer power towards making that waterfall run. It can turn that off while you're working on something else. So you can kind of compartmentalize your drawing and then just turn them all on when you're ready to set up your renderings. So Megascans is something that can be found under Library Megascans. So these are, think of it kind of like the SketchUp 3D warehouse, where there's just a ton of 3D elements that you can bring into your drawing. So they also have 3D textures, lots of things that you can add to your drawing without having to create them yourselves or find them somewhere. Again, you need to log into your Epic Games account. You'll see that little download button, because if you don't do that, then you'll just be clicking on it and nothing will happen. You'll get frustrated. I've been there. Again, favorite to your user library. Do the same thing. You can do a very similar thing with Sketchfab for models like we did with the fish. And then we'll go over the Substance 3Ds for material. And we'll also show you decals.
So within Twinmotion, there's Adobe Substance decals and materials as well. So within all there, there is a small variety of them in there, but you can go and download off different websites, such as this one, like ambientcg.com. You can get additional ones and import them into Twinmotion. So within there, you can have different materials. You can also do different decals. So sometimes within these decals versus the basic Twinmotion ones, they give a different feel to them. They feel a bit even more realistic, and there's a very wide variety of them as well.
Decals act like a flat surface, so they're not as much of a repeatable material, where this is just a single instance that you can add to age your building or add a little bit more variety to the texture that you've already applied without disturbing the current texture that you have. So think of it as like a sticker.
Good point. So the different visuals you can reduce. So within Twinmotion, you can produce different renderings, such as white sweeps in different environments, video walkthrough, 360 panorama, and also cloud presentations.
So first for some rendering tips. So when you start rendering, you'll go into media mode, which is at the bottom here. With this, when you're in each image, you are changing the background and the ambience environmental per image. So as you can see, we're copying the same image here and changing one today, one tonight. If you change the view of which way you're looking in a viewport, make sure you hit this little refresh button. The other options are, I always like to rename my images, because if you export more than once, they'll just come in as 1001, 002, things like that. The other great option is if you click on the three little dots above your image, you can actually copy the ambience. So if you have multiple different views, you're able to, if you really like this one, you're able to copy it to different views within your media tab. One of the most important things that within media mode is to make sure that you exit it. As you see here, I'll back it up a little bit. You go from this, and when you exit media mode, it goes back to what your standard drawing looks like. So if you keep editing it while you're in media mode, it won't apply to your entire drawing. So just be really careful about that.
Now there's different rendering types within Twinmotion. For instance, you have real-time versus path tracer. Within global illumination, you have standard versus lumen. So here's a good example of using real-time lighting versus lumen lighting. Within lumen lighting, you're going to see that there's a little bit more detailed versus real-time lighting. Just so you know, lumen does take longer to render. So unless you need it to be even more detailed than necessary, stick to real-time.
Some info on more intense white sweeps. So in the surviving presentation, we showed you about the preset studio template. Here's how to kind of create your own. So under library tools, there are cycloramas. Think of this as like a studio backdrop, or I guess this one's even more intense as being one of the dome shapes. This will allow you to create a studio effect where it's basically a white sweep. I also recommend doing the library, going from library HDRI to studio lighting. Depending on what your space looks like, you might want to play around with a couple of these. Again, you'll need to log into Epic Games to be able to download these, but it will change the way that the lighting is within the space and allow you to get a nice white sweep rendering of your furniture.
Now you can create different video and 360 panoramas. So within videos, you're going to hit media, and it's going to start your video. So every time you go to a different point, you're just going to hit the plus button. So every time you hit another plus button, what that does, it says the next point in the path that the camera is going to jump to. So you don't actually have to do a whole lot of different close together points. The further apart they are, the more smooth the transition is going to be between the points. Now, to help you out, you can either do it freehand, and if you have people in there, you can just go about where the people's heads are, and that'll give you about height, or you can change around and use pedestrian mode or drone mode as well to get the right angle that you are wanting. And the same thing kind of applies for panorama 360s. You would just like place your person where you need to go, and it'll change and take everything into. The same thing will happen with the panorama 360, same concept. You're just going to go and put your camera in that position, typically about eye level, and it's one button and you're done.
And one thing to just note is the space right, oh, of course. right here, that's setting the duration of your video. So if this is moving a little fast for you at a certain point, you're able to make it longer. So it's so that you can adjust how long the actual overall video is.
So when you're going to export, you have the option of doing cloud presentations. How you're able to do cloud presentations is that you need to create a presentation package. So all those videos and renderings and 360s that you did, you have to put them into one package. So within Twinmotion at the bottom in media, you're going to go to presentation. You're going to add all those in the order that you want them in. Once that is done, you're also going to pick what presentation style you want. What I mean is how you want the camera to move. So you can have free range, you can have ride along, or you can have locked. Free range means that on any image, video, or 360 that you put out there, the person who's going to receive that link is going to be able to move around, go up and down, go inside the building, outside the building, under the furniture, wherever. However, if it's ride, that person is going to be able to just stick along that path. They'll be able to look up, down, side, all that. However, if it's locked, it's just that. So if it's just an image, it's just an image. They can zoom and that's about it. And that goes same thing for 360. You'll be able to just move, and video is just along the path that you set your video to. Now, when this gets uploaded to the Twinmotion cloud, you're going to see this presentation here. Now, within the settings, you're able to do a password or no password. It'll also generate you a QR code or a link. That QR code or a link you'll be able to give to your sales rep, for instance, or to a client, or to put it into a presentation like we have done at the end of this one. And what the person is going to see when they do click on the QR code or link is how to navigate within this. It's going to have that initial pop-up. Once you close that, it'll start the presentation. However, if you need to pause or go back, on the right-hand side, there's a little play button as well as a tab that shows all the different items that you have in this presentation. And you can toggle between the two as well.
So you can scan our QR code here and it'll take you to our cloud presentation of the visuals that we've created for this presentation. So you can see what that would look like from a client perspective, or whoever gets that link or QR code. It's a very easy, helpful way to organize all of your visuals so that your client knows exactly what your project looks like. This is the end of our presentation. We're super excited about it. Not excited about it being done, but we climbed the mountain. That's what we're excited about. You can scan this code here for your CEU, and then scan this one here for your Configura product roadmap. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.